Welcome, one and all, to Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Today, I got the whole clan together, and we're going to talk... What?
No, you don't. Vince isn't here.
Oh,
Vince is always with us.
Vince is with us in heart.
Vince is in my fridge.
I'm concerned.
Just his head. Continue. Carry on.
I'm concerned. There's a lot of concern. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Voltron. With season 6 coming up soon, we wanted to get together and just kind of talk about our thoughts of the show so far. And is there anything else specific you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, we're going to do some writing advice that we can take from specifically season 5. Since that was something that Camille and I have talked a lot about since it aired, was just how strongly written it was, but also its pacing. Its pacing might have been a bit of an issue, but we'll get into that down the road.
Really? I'm literally coming straight off of finishing season 5 into recording this.
Coming.
Stop. This
Fresh
is
off the
YouTube.
press.
This is YouTube. We're supposed to be at least mildly clean on YouTube.
Yeah,
What rule is there for that?
Well, there is no rule, but
we talked about it last night. We were just like, maybe we should try to be a little bit more PG with this right here. I mean, we dropped child swears.
Yeah.
And I just fresh out of the gate with the sex joke. My apologies.
Hey, don't worry about it. I did a rant about Fooly Cooley. Was just last week. So
that's true.
Yeah. Sex jokes are fair game as long as children don't understand them. Which, now that we've talked about sex jokes, I think they're going to understand what we're talking about.
And now that we're explicitly talking about it.
A revolver coming out of Naota's head that goes off at the right time.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so moving on to
Anyway.
Voltron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would say the huge strength of the show is it's very good in terms of pushing the plot along. It's got a really fun plot behind it. Lots of stuff is going on. It keeps your interest. I lost my train of thought because I keep thinking about things that are important, like the chips. Anyway, I think a huge strength is the action. Like the action part of the show is really fun. Overall, it's just very fast paced. It's just a fun show to watch, and it's pretty to watch, and all the characters are very beautiful.
Especially Shiro.
Yes. Space
Especially
Daddy.
Lance.
You stop that.
Lance is my favorite boy. What a
my
beautiful favorite boy.
What a beautiful boy. Too many beautiful boys. Oh,
Anyway.
okay. So, anyway, so those are some of the strengths that I see in the show.
I have a strength.
Yeah.
They are very good at kind of flipping around the villains, because Lotor was a villain in the past seasons, and they did a very good job at kind of flipping Lotor around, just enough that you're oh, hey, he's good, or is he, kind of thing. And so they did a very, very good job at really making you question whether or not he
is trustworthy.
Whether or not he can be trusted. You feel you want to trust him, but you don't know if you should.
I don't know if I want to trust him. The entire time I was just I cannot trust you.
Nope.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Still don't.
Okay. Let me
the same
rephrase
warning
it.
bells were The same warning bells were going off the moment that Lotor showed up, as when I saw Shiro escape from the Galra. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
This is all wrong.
So let me rephrase it.
It's a good point, Nate, but continue.
Yeah. So let me rephrase that then. It's very good at making you question what Lotor's motives are. You know, like, obviously you're consistently questioning whether or not you should or should not trust him. But like,
oh, for sure.
I mean, for me,
Yeah,
I'm like,
very
I wouldn't trust him just because of kind of like what we've seen from him so far. But like from the character's point of view, they're like, oh, I don't know if we should trust him or not. And very obviously, like, it's like really, really digging into the characters, like figuring out like the characters are trying to figure out whether or not they should trust him. And, you know, as the audience, you know, we kind of err on the side of not trusting him, but you can see how helpful it is to trust him. Like how much good that has, or not good, but how much like it has helped them by trusting him, you know.
That's true.
And
That's true.
Yeah, he's done a lot.
Yeah, he has done a lot of good. I do think, though, if you take like a deeper analysis into his character and what we've seen from him in previous seasons, still don't trust him, but he's very good at making himself look trustworthy.
Yes.
He's very good at making himself look useful and needed.
Yeah.
And Nate, to build on what you said right there, just like how they flipped him around from just kind of, at first he just seemed like a very two-dimensional villain. I am off doing my own thing because I can, villain stuff. Yeah. This season like really brings him into the foreground, and we get to like see that see just how compelling he is, and especially his reasonings for the things that he does.
Yeah.
Like that's something that, like, even though I don't trust him at all, I just love, though, seeing him on screen and hearing of his plans and what he's doing, because it's fascinating.
Yeah,
it's so well done.
There's a word for the type of villain he is, and I'm trying to think of what it is. It's like a morally
ambiguous,
not ambiguous. Like he's morally, he has like a moral compass. But it's just barely off enough to the point that he is very much a villain, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
we'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the word is, but I can't think of it right now, so ignore me.
I think for me, a strength that works really, really well in this particular season is the use of politics.
Yeah.
And so here's something like people, for instance, have been complaining a whole lot, like with the Star Wars prequels and then with the new trilogy. Politics. Yeah, politics don't belong in Star Wars. False, they do. They've actually been used in all the movies, but it's always a matter of how much you use them. And Voltron season 5 did a fantastic job of using the right amount of politics, basically saying this is how the Galra Empire operates. And these are the heavy hitters that we have to worry about in our process of putting Lotor on the throne. And that's really all that we need to know about it. And then it just kind of makes sense. You're like, okay, like I can roll with that. Yes, I'd like to know more, at least me personally, but for the rest of the audience, they might not want to know more. And so this is just the right amount. It's just enough to set the stage for that really cool civil war fight between all of the Galrans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing... Like, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Camille.
I was just going to say it's like Game of Thrones for kids.
Yeah, Game of Thrones for kids.
Space of Thrones. Space of Thrones.
Yes.
And what about you, Nathan? Where would you have?
I was gonna kind of derail the conversation a little bit, bring it back to best space dad.
All right.
I think Camille's ready for that.
Oh yeah.
My body's ready.
I think one thing they did very, very well in this season as well is kind of handling Shiro's ambiguity as well. You know, just like it's like, you know, there's obviously that theory that Shiro is a clone, and we definitely know something's off ever since he kind of escaped, and we definitely have seen we've seen a lot. There's a lot of groundwork saying that like, yo, something's up with Shiro. You know, and this one, like, I really like how they handled like Shiro not understanding what's going on either. Mm-hmm. Instead of being like, haha, I'm this and this, and nobody is gonna stop me, you know? Or like, but like, it's like, it still feels like Shiro, but it feels like Shiro is lost within himself, which is just so great. Thank you for that.
and it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Uh,
My
it's
boy.
like- It's like when I heard the Shiro like theory that, you know, he's a clone, and like at this point, like, I completely agree with that. Like, I think that is definitely a very high possibility, but like I was very afraid of that theory just because how clones have been used in other works of fiction, just in
Yeah.
terms of like, I'm the evil clone. But I like how this one's like, it's still Shiro, you know, it's still him, but it's like he doesn't understand himself what he's going through. And I'm like, oh yes, please, thank you.
Yeah, no, they handled it well.
Yeah.
I think it reminds me a lot of what the guys on Writing Excuses once talked about when they were talking about the book Dune, and how in Dune the audience is already made privy to the knowledge of who's the traitor really early on, and then you're just kept in suspension of like who's going to do the terrible deed, like when will the not necessarily who, but when will the terrible deed happen, and putting Shiro in kind of this ambiguous state of like how he doesn't really know what's going on with him. Like we now know, especially by the end of the season, that there's something obviously wrong, and so we know that something bad's about to happen, but we just don't know when, and that skyrockets the anxiety on a whole new level. Rather than trying to figure out who the traitor is or traitors, we're now worrying about, well, when will the treachery happen?
Yeah.
And that I would argue is even worse.
Yeah.
Than trying to figure out who done it.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good usage of irony too, because like while Shiro is, I wouldn't say he knows there's something wrong with him, but like at this point the audience knows more than he does. You know what I mean? So it's a good usage of irony that it's so frustrating to watch, because you're like, okay, yeah, there's something going on that we can see that the characters don't realize yet, and I think it really plays to its advantage. It skyrockets the anxiety of the viewers. That was like the most stressful thing about watching season 5 was, okay, what's going to go on? What's happening with Shiro? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh, and thinking about, once again, I was thinking about Shiro. I love how through Shiro we get a greater look into Lance.
Yes.
And this is and I loved the season because we got to focus on a character other than Keith. I know there's a lot of Keith lovers out there. I got to meet a ton of them at the Phoenix Comic-Con. But it was high time that we changed gears and really focused on someone else. And really now seeing just how much Lance respects and looks up to Shiro, and how he really feels for good old Space Dad. That was just really great, and it helps to show that Lance is still very much struggling with his place on the team, and really what is it that he's supposed to do. And that's something that is very relatable, and that's something that we want to see him resolve. And it also acts as a fun foil still to Keith for people who like Keith, because Keith is off doing his own thing, trying to figure out where he belongs, while Lance is staying with the team, trying to figure out where he belongs. And that's something I'm really excited to see develop further.
For sure. I'm sad that it's taken this long to get that with Lance, like to get that growth for him. But I mean, at least it's happening.
As opposed to Hunk.
I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna, son of a bitch. Yes. That's its own. Actually, I don't know if we're ready to talk about weaknesses yet. But,
yes, let's bring up some weaknesses.
Let's jump into it.
Just jump right into it. I think the hardest thing about, not the hardest thing, one of the biggest weaknesses in Voltron is definitely the fact that there's not good character development or good character arcs for the characters. For all of the characters. You know, you get, for lack of a better word, you get favoritism, like straight up. That's what I feel like it is. You know, like season 2 was all about Keith. And so that's something that's frustrating to watch as well, because you kind of see like, well, okay, we have only a short amount of episodes, so let's just put all our eggs into one basket and focus on this one character, which I think it would benefit them more if there were more episodes. You know, I don't know how their scheduling works, but if the seasons were longer, you could have more character growth, more character arcs for all of the characters, because they're all precious beings and they all deserve that, especially Hunk.
Yeah, and here, and as far as something goes with the scheduling, they the studio set a specific number of episodes, saying like, we're shooting for 78. We might get more, but like 78 is the max. Not the max, it's the minimum. That was what they said they could tell the story in. We're halfway through, and being halfway through, it's almost now too late to begin focusing on a character such as Hunk. Pidge has been getting sweet little tidbits of character development for herself as the series has gone on, as well as here and there for Lance. Lance getting finally a spotlight with season 5, but Hunk hasn't gotten anything beyond 2 episodes worth, and it's just, it's so sad.
Yeah,
it's really sad to watch.
I think it's a little like, it's kind of a dangerous game they're playing, like with this like bigger cast with so few episodes, because you don't want to do kind of what season 4 of Ruby did, where they have like, you know, short little things for every character, and then it never like it just feels like it's crawling along, and you know, you're not getting enough for each character. Whereas in this one, you're getting a lot for one character, but not enough for others. And I think it's just a very difficult balance to hit. And I think, I don't know, I don't really know what they could have done differently. But I agree, like they definitely need to have a little bit more time with some of the other characters. You know, give us some things that really ground them. You know, like I really liked what we saw with Lance, like how he's like, you know, how he feels like, oh, I was just thinking about home, and then I started thinking about my brothers and my sisters and my mom, and it, you know, and then he starts crying, you know, and it's like, that's a beautiful little thing, you know, but like,
can I continue, because I had to interject about that, but continue. Okay. It's something about Lance's character specifically that bugs me. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So I really liked how they put that in, like a little bit to like kind of ground Lance, rather than just being kind of like, you know, goofy ladies man. But like we haven't had anything like that for Hunk, I think, at all. If I'm kind of thinking back, which is just kind of a damn shame. Just kind of a dang shame.
Whoops! I've already sworn like 3 times already. Just a side note about that, I think something that also is a detriment to the show is how they treat some characters as just like comedic relief. Yeah. And Hunk is a good example. He's probably like the biggest example of that. But you see Lance falls into that category a lot too, because it's always like, oh, Lance is never serious. Lance is such a ladies' man, blah, 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 blah. And even though we're seeing more of just one side of him, even that instance in season 5 where it shows him like getting emotional about his family, it still like the other characters were kind of like laughed at him for it. Like it was still played off as a joke when you compare it to another character like Pidge with her family issues. Like it's very emotional, and and I think that's sad, because like these are all really good characters. We should be treating them as more than just comic relief, comedic relief. Hunk and Lance are the biggest victims of that.
Yeah, and so do you want me to save this for the end? I have like a writing advice for this like specific reason. Do you want me to hold on to it until? Hold on to that. Okay. Yeah, because there's a weakness that I really want to dive on into as far as season 5 goes. There's a ton that can be said about what's happened with the characters, and that I think that almost deserves another video, either itself or maybe even a podcast episode if we feel like it sometime in the future. But a real weakness to this past season, which is really strange because in a way it really works as a strength as well.
but it is a weakness nonetheless because of consistency, is its pacing.
Yeah.
With the previous 4 seasons actually doing an excellent job maintaining kind of like a jogger's pace. It's nice to get a sprint, but the sprint, when we got it, it happened almost at the wrong time. Like, it's really, really great to like see that. I mean, it's great that we got Zarkon's death, that we've got Lotor ascending to the throne, that we are beginning to learn more about what's up with Shiro at this moment, that Keith meets his mother, that we learn that more about the evil quintessence. Like, there's so much that we got, and I love getting all of this information, but it happened at such a rapid fire pace that unless you are paying attention, it just goes over your head. And there were people, like, when I had a chance to like meet with other Voltron fans, some people were totally oblivious to certain things that had happened in this previous season because it went by so quickly, and unless you're looking for it, even in a rewatch, you might miss it.
Side note,
and that's what happens when it's just so fast.
Side note, I actually had to rewind to the end of, I think it was episode 2, because I was like, I jump into episode 3 and they're like, oh, Zolkron is dead. I'm like, wait, what? Really?
Yeah, is he really dead?
Yeah. And so like I had to go back, was like, oh yeah, I guess he did die. It was just like, he's dead,
really
episode over, and then starts the next one.
And then it's like, moving on.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
which I'm going to save that for the predictions bit later, but
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like, it's very fast paced, which I really appreciate. And like you said, you know, it's also one of its strengths. But you should really be like pacing, like hitting that sprint when it's coming up to the climax. And I don't feel like we've really hit that climax yet. You know, like we needed it to like kind of propel us into the climax. And you know, I think you make a valid point there. And I felt like kind of near the end of the season, it kind of, you know, they kind of hit that fatigue and it started kind of like sloping off. The whole part with the white line, like that was super cool, but it just felt like that, you know, should not have been the season finale. You know, like it feels like there's something else that needs to kind of like capstone it, like bookend it. You know, we have Sorry,
I was going to say
like...
Lotor. Okay.
I'll go ahead. Like we
want to keep talking.
Yeah, we had like Zarkon's death, like bookending the first part, and then what bookends the second part. You know what I mean? The end.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
I felt like Lotor's ascension and like seeing Zendek like already kind of start his own splinter group. Like, had it ended right there, I would have just been like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a hard one to make, and really as writers, I think that's something that I think that the crew really workshopped that they probably, the writers and everyone probably talked that over a lot before they made the decision. It wasn't necessarily a bad decision, as said, to like end it with the white line, but it does feel out of place with everything else that we've gotten. Each one of us should give like one bit of strong writing advice that we can give based off of this season, and then we can then just do like a quick little prediction shout out.
Okay.
And then we'll cut it, then we'll end it.
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead and start then?
Yeah, go ahead, because you said you had something already, so I want to hear it.
Yeah, so I think you know, it's let me just kind of scoop together all my thoughts. Here's my bit of writing advice that can come from season 5. It's that a character who is comedic relief, very important. It's a very great way to make a character instantly likable. You know, people love comedic relief characters when they're first introduced, but if you continuously only focus on the comedic relief, then they are never going to grow as a character, and they will eventually be replaced by characters who are much better developed. And so when writing your own stories, like if you have a comedic relief character, make sure that you have some character growth planned for them. within my own stories, just to kind of give an example, I have a character who is very much the comedic relief character. When I first introduced them, they're very much a couch potato, very much like, I don't want responsibility, keep that away from me, I'm just gonna go over here and do my own thing. And through the course of the story, he kind of learns, to, like, number one, you learn what has brought him into this, like, lifestyle that he lives of just, like, goofing around and not having responsibility. But then he also learns how he can, like, overcome it and accept himself into being somebody who can then again have responsibility and be proud of such a thing, And so you just make sure, to summarize, make sure that comedic relief characters have good, solid character growth. Otherwise, they will not keep their, like, momentum. The momentum of these characters, the lovability of these characters will not stay consistent.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's a great point.
I think
my boy.
Oh my gosh, please give Hunk more development. So my bit of writing advice coming from the season, I mean, I've already talked about the pacing, I've talked about the politics, so I'm going to bring up something else right here. What I actually think is really good writing advice to give from this is that this season did not drop any loose threads.
Yeah.
It seems at one point that it's just like it splits up the character so much. And I mean, we've got villains and heroes going in so many different directions. I at first thought that they were just going to drop certain characters until next time around, but everyone got a little bit of screen time, so that way we could be reminded that indeed they are still around, they're still kicking, and they're still doing stuff that is pertinent to the plot.
Yeah.
And that is something I think for writers out there who are thinking of much bigger, grandiose stories with big casts, you can't always have your cast together in the same spot, because then not everyone gets enough screen time, which is why then they get scattered around, and why we have then what we normally refer to as loose threads. So just pay attention to where you send all of your characters, and make sure that what they're doing all plays in the end towards the end game, and constantly come back to them. Just so that way we know that, yes, they're still around, they're still doing stuff, and they don't just come out of left field later on down the road. They're like, well, I did something really cool off screen. Like, no one appreciates that. No one likes that. Don't do it. Voltron did it right this season.
Yeah. Good point.
Okay, Camille, what do you have?
Let me think. Here's my thing. Even though this might ruffle some feathers, my advice is, even though Voltron is one of the most toxic fandoms out there, this is a fact. This is an objective fact, because people get so up in arms about shipping and all that stuff. My advice is just, this is what I think Voltron does well, is that's not where their focus is. And it allows them to move forward with the story, because the plot itself is way bigger than any sort of romance that would be happening between the characters. And hey, I ship Shiro and Allura more than their OTP. Okay, that's fair, and it's okay. It's okay.
Lotor and Allura.
I need you to stop.
And as I threw it out there earlier, I would totally be down with a Shiro and Corellia ship, but I mean, I'm Shalora all the way. So
yeah, I'm just kidding. No, I am Shalora all the way too. I'm just getting under your feathers.
Just ruffling them right up.
Just give them a nice little ruffle. Ruffle, truffle.
Leave my feathers alone. No, but I think it's just a good advice is, if you have a really big story where you don't have just like one main character. Wow, I can't talk. One main character. It's just a big ensemble. That if it's not a romance, like, don't worry so much about making that any sort of focus, because you'll see that the characters grow, and you'll see if it's right, then you'll see that naturally come along. But don't make that your focus, because that can ruin the storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think Voltron does show a good job of, they got crap to do. These characters have crap to do, so romance really isn't on the forefront, and that's totally fine, and it allows them to tell this really bigger story. So, my 2 cents. I gotta go. So.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Camille.
You're
Thanks, Camille.
welcome.
Are you
Finish it.
logging off then?
I gotta change, and I gotta brush my teeth. So.
Wow, that's some good stuff right there.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll just say before I go, and you can leave it or keep it, Nate, if you want. But
Okay.
as always, bye, Mom.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Actually,
go.
I think Lars is going to be editing this, so
yeah, I'll
it's
be
up to
editing that,
him.
and I'll keep that.
Okay. All right.
I'll
Thank
keep
you.
that as the end.
Yeah,
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Let
gotta
us
go.
all have our little outro for once.
Yeah, we'll have an outro.
Nate,
So, I mean,
shit.
and this has already been going on already quite long enough. So we'll just Nate, you and I will just throw out, I think, a fun little quick prediction, because hey,
Okay.
You already know my predictions. I'm gonna go. I trust you.
Okay.
Okay.
All the
Bye.
way go.
all right, ciao.
So Camille
All right.
thinks that Shiro is going to die.
Yes, that's exactly what she thinks. Okay, no, I actually have to throw this on out there, because I thought that this was really, really good. This almost shook my entire belief in the clone theory, which I was like one of the very first people, right there. Like I even threw that up on social media. I think I have to double check that, but like the moment I saw Shiro come back, I was like, hashtag not my Shiro. It's like this has to be a clone of some sort. But something that I heard at the Phoenix Comic-Con was one person saying that no, we actually do have the real Shiro's body, but not his soul,
Oh.
and that his soul is with the Black Lion. And so there's something else in Shiro. Maybe a quintessence being or something that Hagar created. And I was like, holy dang. Like, if we don't get the clone theory, I hope that we get that being confirmed, because that is phenomenal. And that works so well with what we've seen so far from the different quintessence creatures that we've gotten a look at, such as the White Lion, the creature that came out of the rift, and basically what Zarkon and Hagar became after their time in the rift. So I guess a prediction that I'm going to throw on out there is this: we won't get a resolution for Shiro in the upcoming season. I'm sorry, but we won't.
Yeah,
Just
I agree.
just because the way that it was originally planned, that there would only be 13 episode seasons, and we're technically in the middle then of what would have been the middle of was now season
3?
oh, season 3 maybe.
I don't know. I'd have to look at the episodes again.
Yeah. No, we're like in the middle of season. What would be really season 4? So we're
Okay.
technically in the middle of season 4. And so you don't introduce. So you would introduce something like that normally within the 13 episode season, and we would then expect some sort of Shiro cliffhanger at the end, and then we'll get a resolution in the season afterwards. So what I think we're going to do, my prediction is that we won't get a resolution to what's happening with Shiro, but my prediction is that Lance is going to be the next paladin to go into this astral plane and communicate with Shiro, and that he's going to try to bring the other paladins along with him. I think that whatever is going to happen with Shiro is going to be an all-team effort to rescue Space Dad from wherever he's at.
I like that. I'd agree with that. I think we're gonna see Lance. Yeah, I hope we see that. That's what I'm. I don't know how to say it. Yes. That's what I want to say. Is yes.
All the yes.
Yes. My prediction is that we're not gonna have. Okay. It's not so much a prediction, but this is what I want to see. I want to see Lotor not turn evil. Like, you know, like, we don't trust him, but I want us to not trust him even more. Or, like, I want us to have more trust in him. Does that make sense? While also not trusting him. So I want to see more reasons to trust him before, like, if they do indeed have a plan to, like, oh, Lotor has always been evil, you know, and then, like, flip that around. Like, I want more reasons to trust Lotor.
And this is one thing that I think I should clarify with my position on Lotor, is that he's definitely not his father.
Yeah.
There's certain elements of Galra definitely within him, like what we see when he faces off against the White Lion, where he's like death or victory.
Yeah.
And that was a very Galra thing to say and to do, and because this is technically an anime, the show right here, the anime laws of fighting are that you show who you are when you're fighting. So there's Galra in him, but he's a way more complicated character than that. And I think that what he's going for, I think he's really going for his own plan. I think that he really is a third party doing his own thing. And I would love to see, and even though I don't trust him, I would love to see, as you said, more reasons for us to get to know him and for the team to even get closer to him, because for wherever that will lead, whether that leads to betrayal or to a greater alliance, that will just sweeten the deal either way.
Yeah. And so it's not so much that I predict that we're going to get, like, a more more empathetic, it's not that I think that we will get a more empathetic one. It's just that I hope we get a more empathetic Lotor. Because I think he could be a very, very interesting. Well, he is a very interesting character. I think we can continue to get more from him. Because at the very, very end, when, you know, Allura kind of comes out of the White Lion, and Lotor was like, it was just not for me, but this is your glory, or whatever. I want to see more of that. Like, he held it together so well. You could tell he was upset. Like, you could tell he was kind of, like, agitated that he didn't get it after spending so much time. But he held it together so well, and I want to see more of that rather than him just getting progressively more and more salty about it. So that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see salty Lotor.
Yeah,
at least not in regards to the White Lion.
Yeah.
And speaking on Camille's behalf, she's talked a lot about where she thinks, like, what will happen, especially with Keith, even though she said, hey, we need to kind of move a little bit away more from Keith and give the other characters their space. We can't forget about him. And she said that what we're going to get here is we're going to get real answers about Keith, about his relation, about who his mother is, and especially what it is that she's been doing. And this will be the chance for Keith to really find his place in the universe. And I think that one of the great things with the character like Keith, and something that we've touched on in the past, is that he is, because the show has given him so much prominence within itself, he is meant to become a really great hero at the end of the day. So we're going to see him fully come to terms with his Galra half, especially through his mother. There's going to be some great answers there, and he's going to be able to return to the team being finally the guy that they need him to, being the paladin that they need him to be. That will start in this season. In season 6. I think so too. And maybe then, as just a quick way of then rounding out these predictions, Nate, I want to quickly ask you what you think. What do you think will happen as far as the White Lion goes? Fans were like really big about, like, we're getting the White Lion, but we didn't get a robot. We got a spirit creature. What do you think is going to happen? Are we actually going to get the robot, or is the White Lion kind of done its thing and it will just then crop up later on where it's needed?
That's a really good question. To be honest, I kind of hope we don't get a white Voltron lion, like a white robotic mecha lion. Just because I really like how it's differentiated itself from Voltron. But with that said, I really hope we get a lot more like development with that lion, like if it in some way like incorporates into Voltron, like maybe all of Voltron's like turns, so you have like oh, let's form Voltron, and then they come together. And then like the white lion is now like turns the whole Voltron white, and now it's like super powerful, and it's got a real big beam gun. I think something to that effect. I don't think a whole nother robot is going to be a smart choice yet. If there is one, I think they should definitely wait.
Yeah.
Until like either Keith's back or like they find another paladin, because obviously there's just not enough people right now to pilot another Voltron lion. And I think that Keith coming back to Voltron would be not the right time to do that. Like he needs to keep doing what he's doing, and kind of keep doing that, like stay away from Voltron for a bit. If in the future, if things kind of move back towards him becoming a paladin of Voltron, then I think that's a good time to introduce the White Lion.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I don't think it's right to bring in a mech version of the White Lion, and I do definitely want to see it crop up again at important places within the story. And one thing I love that's been brought up by the cast and crew, and especially within the show, is that Allura is the heart of Voltron, and by her forming this connection with her people in that astral plane and bowing to the White Lion, it just shows once again that she really is the heart of the team. And I think that when we finally get Keith returning, I think that we're once again going to get the shuffle back to the original order that the Paladins were all in. That's kind of what I really foresee happening. Just because of the relationship that Lance had with the Blue Lion, the relationship that Lance had with the Red Lion. And Shiro is the head of Voltron. Like, Allura nailed it from the very beginning. But she belongs with Voltron as well as its heart. And I think that, like, what I would absolutely love to see, this is just total fan theory, though, at this point right here, but because we know that Voltron can kind of access, once again, the astral plane for its power, and as it fights, especially when Shiro fought against Zarkon at the end of season 2, I think that what will happen, and this might be a part of unlocking more of the Black Lion's secrets, is that when they finally all come together and they're all where they need to be for Voltron to work, that I think that Allura will be helping to pilot Voltron in a more mystical, spiritual way, and that she will be the one that like really helps them like access like bigger guns or bigger swords, what have you, or cooler effects, so that way they can just annihilate whatever kinds of enemies that they have at the end of the road. Like, that's what I foresee happening, and that will be her accessing the White Lion's power.
Yeah. So,
John, that's just something to think about. Like, I just brought that up because that's something that's on a lot of people's minds. And I think that you and I are kind of in the minority where we say, please don't bring a White Lion robot into the mix.
Yeah. I don't
At least not yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's not the time to bring it in. If in the future, I think that it's definitely possible to write it in later, but where the show stands now, it's not ready for that. And so that's what I think.
Yeah, and I think that we've got solid reasoning for it too. So
yeah,
awesome. That's good stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's close this out, shall we?
Yeah. So that's been our discussion of the writing of Voltron season 5, its strengths, its weaknesses, what writing advice we could get from it, and also kind of our predictions, our thoughts of what will happen down the road. And that brings us then fully to the end of this video. So remember that if you like this video, to please give us the thumbs up, and if you haven't done it already, please subscribe and click the bell icon, so that way you can be kept in the loop for all of the other content that's coming out this summer. We're throwing a lot out here on the channel. And also listen to our podcast episodes, where we go into much greater depth about actual writing or reading terrible fan fictions for your enjoyment. So
our displeasure. Your enjoyment, our displeasure.
We torture ourselves for you, fellow listeners. So please go check that out. The name is obviously Camille's Harem, and you can check us out on Podbean, iTunes, and Google Play, and the links will be in the description box. And you can also look at what we're doing on Tumblr as far as our own art goes, and you can check out Pinterest for some wonderful writing exercises that Camille has assembled to help challenge you, kind of be a little bit of homework. And you can engage in discussions with us and with other novice writers at our Reddit page. Once again, all of the links for those are in the description box. And coming back to the bad fan fictions, if you have a really terrible fan fiction in mind that you think would be hilarious for us to read, then please send that to us via our Twitter at Camille's Harem. And that's all for now. So, juice.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Mom.
Bye, Mom.
Bye, Mom.